Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having a fantastic Wednesday, wherever you may be across this great country or this great land. Lots going on. What I am most entertained by today is signing day part 2. Tomorrow I will write about the overall recruiting classes, but I always like to look at the totality of the classes and look at them top to bottom. I'm about to do that with you guys here in a second. So I'm going to get to that momentarily. Most of the great players are already in now. Not a lot of movement still to come based on one or two players, so we will discuss that. Impeachment. The vote on impeachment is going to occur here in about an hour, a little over an hour, 45 minutes, whatever the heck it is. The State of the Union was last night. I watched. I'll tell you my impressions. Mookie Betts and David Price traded from the Red Sox to the LA Dodgers. Spotify buys The Ringer. This is an intriguing story in and of itself. As sports media, there continues to be a run on content creation companies in the world of sports media. Barstool, The Ringer, and The Athletic, all valued at substantial sums of money in the last month. As gambling rises, I think the overall value of the sports media universe is rising with it. And Clint Capela traded to the Hawks in a massive NBA trade where the Rockets appear to be trying to gather some assets to make an interesting move. We will get to all of that in today's show. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. As always, in 1 hour, I will be live on Lock It In. Always start off your morning with us from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern on Outkick the Coverage. And we begin off the top here with signing day. This is signing day part 2. For those of you out there who are still getting used to the fact that there is a December signing day and there is also now a February signing day. This used to be the only signing day there was. Now there is more than one. And I want to hit you with this. My takeaway in general, and I'll talk about this some more tomorrow, but in general, I am a guy who doesn't look at individual recruits. I look over at the totality of the talent that is being brought in. The more 4 and 5 stars you sign, the better your team's chances are of making the playoff and being able to compete for a championship. And so, in particular, you need to be in the top 10. The data suggests that in order to win a championship, you need to be at least 2 years in the top 10, and usually 3 of the past 4 years, you need to be in the top 10. So what were the final results? Now, there are a lot of different recruiting class rankings out there. I tend to use the 24/7 Sports Composite class rankings because it collates all the different rankings and puts them together in one number, so you can't sit around and cherry pick the one that you think is the best for your particular program, conference, whatever argument you're trying to make. I try to argue there's no bias by using the composite rankings. And so, congratulations to the Georgia Bulldogs, who won the recruiting national championship for a second time in the last 3 years. Kirby Smart's Georgia Bulldogs are the number 1 class in the entire nation. Sliding in the 2 spot, the Alabama Crimson Tide, always up there with Nick Saban's team, always around the number 1. Alabama is number 2. Clemson is number 3. LSU 4, Ohio State is 5. All right, that's the top 5. Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, LSU, Ohio State. We had Barton Simmons on the radio show this morning. He's the national recruiting analyst for 24/7 Sports. And Barton said those top 5 classes are by far the best. There's a little bit of a drop-off after that top 5. So that's the top 5. Then we've got Texas A&M at 6. A good class for Jimbo Fisher. Auburn, we've got sliding in at 7. And Florida, Texas, and Tennessee rounding out the top 10. Oklahoma, Oregon, Miami, Michigan, Penn State is the top 15. Some notable teams, I would say, in general. I would say that it definitely begs attention here that USC right now is the 54th best team in the entirety of the country. Couple of wacky stats for you. Tennessee is number 10 overall, 7th in the SEC. how dominant is SEC recruiting? Tennessee is top 10 in the country, number 7 overall in the SEC. That is pretty wild. And to put it into context, the best team in the Pac-12 is 12th. So Tennessee would have the best recruiting class in the Pac-12. They have the 7th best recruiting class in the SEC. Tennessee would have the 2nd best recruiting class in the Big 12, the 2nd best recruiting class in the ACC, and the 2nd best recruiting class in the Big 10. Again, they are 7th in the SEC. That is an incredible statement about the amount of talent that is being brought in to the SEC. Let me repeat that. Tennessee is 7th overall in recruiting class rankings in the SEC. They would be 2nd in the Big 10, 2nd in the Big 12, 1st in the Pac-12, 2nd in the ACC. That's how crazy the amount of talent that's being stockpiled in the SEC is. So that is pretty incredible. No, there is no Pac-12 team in the top 10 at all, which is why Tennessee, would be number 1 overall in the Pac-12. They'd have the best recruiting class in the Pac-12 if they were playing in that conference. So that is the big takeaway from the recruiting class ranking. Still a couple of players out there. Tennessee in particular is after a 5-star running back who's down to like Tennessee, Ole Miss-ish. He's like maybe Florida, a couple of different teams still after him. I believe his name is Zach Evans. If he decides to go to Tennessee, Tennessee would finish number 7 overall. But that is one of the top remaining players who hasn't committed. Somebody just asked about Notre Dame. The Irish finished 17th overall in the composite index, which kind of gives you a perspective on how things are going. All right, that's the breakdown of the second signing day as we come up on the conclusion. Again, if you're curious about all this, go to my Twitter feed at Clay Travis. I tweeted a link. You can go look at the rankings yourself and analyze them as you see fit. In about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, the Senate is going to vote to acquit Donald Trump of impeachment charges. I told you this was going to happen back in November. I told you exactly how it was going to go. There's a lot of drama. I even told you that in the end, the drama was going to turn down to, oh my God, are any Democrats going to vote against impeachment? And are any Republicans going to vote in favor of impeachment? It appears that Mitt Romney is going to be the only Republican who votes in favor of impeachment on either of the 2 counts. That means there's 106 votes to be had. 105 of the Republican votes will be against impeachment. 1 from Mitt Romney will be in favor of it. La, la, la. The remaining guys out there, it appears, maybe Joe Manchin, the senator from, Democratic senator from West Virginia, who is a lot more like a Republican, to be honest. He might end up voting against impeachment too. He floated the idea of censuring the president. We'll see what he ends up doing. The only other interesting story I would say in general is Doug Jones, the Democratic senator from Alabama who pulled off the upset over Mal Moore. Doug Jones announced that he is going to vote for impeachment in a state that Donald Trump won by like 26 points. So he is officially a done man as a senator. He will have a 2-year term, and then he will be replaced in November. There's no way that he is going to be able to win. Interestingly, Tommy Tuberville and Jeffords are both in the mix to be the Republican senator there. Mal Moore is running again, but he will not get the nomination for the Republicans. It looks like Jeff Sessions will win his Senate seat back. But Tommy Tuberville is right up there with Jeff Sessions in the Senate race, and it looks like it could be tight down the stretch in Alabama. So that is a story worth following only if you like stories with zero drama, and there is in fact zero drama in the impeachment scenario. As I told you from the get-go, nothing was going to happen. Sorry, Roy Moore. Is it Roy Moore? Mal Moore used to be the athletic director at Alabama. Sorry, Roy Moore. So that is what is going on there. The story will officially be done, and there will have been millions of words spilled on impeachment, and it will be exactly what I told you from the get-go was going to happen. Democratic House going to vote almost entirely on party lines to impeach. Republican Senate going to vote almost entirely on party lines not to impeach. And boom, we're right back where we started before all is said and done. State of the Union address. I thought Donald Trump was fantastic last night in the State of the Union address. I don't care whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, whether you're an independent. I thought he was magisterial in the way that he used the State of the Union to advocate for the causes that he is in favor of. The ability to put people in the gallery there in the House, to have all of the different stand-ins to represent the things that he wanted to emphasize, including reuniting a mom and her two kids with their father who had been serving overseas, bringing one of the last surviving Tuskegee Airmen alongside of his great-grandson, the people to stand in who had been victims of violent crime that he was fighting against, the little girl who wanted to go to a charter school. All of those, I thought, illustrated very cogently what exactly Donald Trump was trying to make in terms of the case that he was attempting to make. I thought it was very well done. I thought Nancy Pelosi seemed incredibly embittered. And I don't know about you. When she ripped up the speech, I thought that was a really weird, strange thing to do. And to me, I don't know if you guys picked up on this at all, but I got the sense that the opposition to Donald Trump in the House was a lot less significant than it had been in previous years when he gave the State of the Union address. I think deep down, Democrats now believe that Donald Trump is going to be reelected in 2020. I think they are slowly coming to grips with the fact that this 4 years might not be an aberration and anomaly, but that the 2016 election is going to be followed by a 2020 re-election. And in fact, the odds markets offshore where they hang presidential odds, you can't do it in the United States, but Donald Trump now is out to minus 150 to be re-elected. It's the biggest favorite for re-election he has ever been. And I think there are increasingly a lot of people aware that Donald Trump right now is a fairly substantial favorite to be re-elected president of the United States as he moves to minus 150. I think there's a decent chance he might get impeached again. One reason I didn't support this impeachment is the same reason I didn't support the impeachment of Bill Clinton. I think that impeachment should be incredibly rare, and I think the idea of impeaching somebody 9 months before election is just absolutely insane. 9 months before an election, you have the ability as an American public to go out and say whether or not you agree with Donald Trump's so far leadership of the country, and you can vote either for or against it. But I think if he wins, he'll probably get impeached again in 2020. I think that every time an impeachment occurs, it's going to be like the boy who cried wolf. People pay a little bit less attention to it going forward, and I find myself in a very similar position as a guy who's known to be a liberal, Alan Dershowitz. I met Alan Dershowitz on the Fox lot down at the Super Bowl. He was doing Fox News, and we were both in the green room. We were waiting to do the Saturday edition of Lock It In, and he was sitting there, and I was like, wait a minute, I think that's Alan Dershowitz down here in Miami getting ready to go on Fox News right after he made his impeachment defense. And I agree with almost everything that Dershowitz has said about Donald Trump. I think that the idea that he is deserving to be impeached is crazy. And I think what you need to do is look behind the curtain here. What's really going on? What's really going on here is Democrats are desperate. And they realize that in order to bring back the Obama coalition, they're going to have to do something that truly shakes up the arena. And they're desperate because Hillary Clinton tried to run a similar campaign to Obama, except she wasn't able to put together the coalition that he was. She couldn't turn out the same voters. So she had to go entirely 100% all with identity politics. She had to lay into, oh, Donald Trump is awful. I'm going to be pro-gay. I'm going to be pro-transgender people. I'm going to be pro-gay, pro-women, everything else. All she did was hit the identity button again and again and again. And I think if the Democrats try that in 2020, they're going to lose. And particularly if they nominate, for God's sake, Bernie Sanders, and he ends up the nominee, I don't think it's even going to be close. But that is at least paying attention to. In general, I thought it was a great State of the Union, and it's not a coincidence that the day after the State of the Union that now it is minus 150 that Trump will be reelected, okay? I think he has to be a prohibitive favorite at this point in time. I would be surprised right now. Lots can change in the next 8 or 9 months. But if the economy continues to roll like this, the most recent Gallup poll said 63% of Americans agree with Donald Trump's stewardship of the economy. That's a pretty big number. All he has to do is lean into that, and I think he has a good chance to be reelected. All right, Mookie Betts and David Price traded from the Boston Red Sox to the LA Dodgers. The Dodgers making another big move to try and make a run for the World Series title. And as a result, if you actually break it down, this is a little bit of an intriguing move because I was surprised the Red Sox were willing to trade away talent like this based almost entirely on cost. They didn't get that much back in exchange. And I saw an interesting column saying, I think it was Dan Shaughnessy, saying it was almost 100 years ago that the Red Sox sold Babe Ruth's contractual rights to the New York Yankees. And I can't believe that they're in such financial straits that a franchise that has this much money had to make the decision to get rid of Mookie Betts. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Both of these guys, by the way, from the Nashville area. I hope the Dodgers can win another title and go back. I like LA, spend a lot of time out there. I'd like to see the Dodgers win another one so that they could get that 1988 feeling all over the City of Angels one more time. Spotify has bought the Ringer. Spotify buying the Ringer. Purchase price is not out there, although Darren Rovell said it was $300 million plus. This means that Barstool has sold, the Ringer has sold, and The Athletic has raised $500 million, all in the space of about a month. It is a hot time to be in the sports media content business, a good time for your boy, who already is making a good living, but may well be making an even better living in the near future. We've got the ability to ramp up Outkick in a big way. Lots of people reaching out to try to figure out what exactly we want to do in the next 3 to 5 years to take this thing to an even bigger level from a website perspective, Periscope, Facebook, podcast, everything else. I've always just pocketed all the money that I've been making off Outkick. We've got a good base. Now we could really take it to the next level. It's an exciting time in the world of sports media. Finally, Clint Capela to the Hawks. Clint Capela to the Hawks. This is an interesting story to follow because Daryl Morey is just rolling the dice like crazy to try to find a way to win a championship. And now he's decided he's going to go small ball, get rid of the center that was averaging 13 and 13, move him to the Hawks, try to bring in more assets to make a move. I don't understand exactly what he's doing here, but recently the Rockets played with a lineup without anybody taller than 6'6". They seem to be going small ball, trying to stretch the court, take advantage of the quickness that James Harden and Russell Westbrook bring to bear. And that obviously leaves them at a rebounding disadvantage. It leaves them at a disadvantage inside. But the theory seems to be if you shoot enough threes, you can make up for the fact that you might not have a big man inside because they're only scoring 2 points at a time there. I don't know what the end result is going to be, but this is going to be an intriguing story to follow for sure, where Daryl Morey is always trying to remake his team, it feels like, on the fly. All right. Love all of you. My name is Clay Travis. This has been Outkick the Show. Appreciate you guys. Hope you're having a fantastic Wednesday. Watch the Lock It In at 3:30 Central, 4:30 Eastern, 2:30 Mountain, 1:30 Pacific. And I hope you enjoy Lock It In then, but also Outkick the coverage in the morning nationwide, 300 plus AM FM stations. Thank you for all that support. Biggest podcast month we've ever had in January. Continue to grow in a big way. Happy National Signing Day Part 2. This has been Outkick, DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. See y'all.